Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got an update here. I wanted to discuss what Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary for the Trump administration, said earlier today on Fox Business. He has come out with another statement correcting the original statement, or I guess clarifying the original statement on the discussion surrounding the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which has been in the works for months at this point. Some people said it wasn't going to happen. The administration said months ago they had officially created the strategic reserve that was mainly based on confiscation, and nobody really knew if they were going to try and get to that 1% of the total BTC, or no, it wasn't 1%, it was 5%. It was around a million total Bitcoin. The total supply of Bitcoin is 21 million. There's been about 2.5 million or maybe more that have been burned. And then on top of that, there's about 2 million Bitcoin that people think are because of locked keys and cold storage and just lost over the years. The total supply of Bitcoin that's tradable might be under around 15.5 or 16 million. So if you acquire 1% or if you acquire 1 million, that's a decent amount of the supply. And the original goal with the Bitcoin Act proposed by congressmen within the U.S. Senate was to make it to where we would acquire 1 million total Bitcoin. They have said they've gotten around 198K through confiscation. And the question is, will they buy the rest to get to the million total Bitcoins, which is around 800K? So Scott Bessent says, here, I guess I'll just play this. I thought it was going to show, what he actually said, and I would just be able to read it. But Scott Bessent said, basically what he said is, no, we're not buying anymore. And I wish they would have asked him to clarify his statement, because that's a big statement to say we're not buying anymore. We confiscated some. But then he clarifies it in this tweet right here, and we'll just play this.
We've got the large gold holding. I doubt we're going to revalue it, but we are going to keep it there, again, as a store of value for the American people. We've also started to get into the 21st century, a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're not going to be buying that, but we are going to use confiscated assets and continue to build that up. We're going to stop selling that. I believe that Bitcoin reserve at today's prices is somewhere between 15 and 20 billion.
So he's referencing the amount they have right now. People were questioning, well, did they sell Bitcoin? Because they claimed through the confiscation they had around 200K Bitcoin. Does that equate to 15 to 20 billion dollars? I think you might be lowballing it. I don't think they sold any. He said they weren't selling any, but I mean, this was like recorded on a potato or something. I couldn't really hear it, but if you listen, he says they're not going to be buying any more Bitcoin. They're just getting it through confiscation. And so this was the update 41 minutes ago after saying earlier today that they weren't going to be buying any. Bessent puts out a statement, and people are saying, well, there were some people behind the scenes that told him to say this, and because people were getting real angry with Bitcoin, and you can see, just looking at. See, the thing is, I think I already have a subscription to TradingView. Dude, I have so many subscriptions that I just don't even. But they're demanding I get I already have a subscription. I can't log into it. It's like I pay $30 a month, but I gotta do something with the subscriptions. All right, now this is, what is this, a 4-hour chart? So you can see this is the total market cap going over 4 trillion, and it's retraced a little bit, and so that's why people are complaining, because there has been a little bit of retracement with Bitcoin, with some of the top alts today, and it's represented here. I mean, you zoom out, it's not a big deal. And we think crypto's in an amazing spot right now, but just moving back to where is this? Where is X? There it is. Just moving. And this is what Bessent said. He says, Bitcoin that has been finally forfeited to the federal government will be the foundation of the strategic Bitcoin reserve that President Trump established in his March executive order. So what he's saying is, the Bitcoin that is taken through confiscation, through illegal acts by the U.S. government, will now be held as strategic stored value rather than what they were previously doing, because they were confiscating Bitcoin during the Biden administration, during the first Trump administration, with the Silk Road going all the way back to the early 2010s. But they would just trade it. They would sell it. There was no actual strategy behind holding Bitcoin long-term as an asset. So what he's saying is that's a shift now. Now we are going to be holding it long-term. He says this is the important one. In addition, Treasury is committed to exploring budget neutral pathways to acquire more Bitcoin to expand the reserve. And so that's not that differs from what he said earlier this morning. What he said earlier this morning was they're not going to be acquiring more. Now, and this has always been their thought, that they would be budget neutral. They can't invest more money into it. Maybe they sell some gold for Bitcoin, which honestly I would be on board with. Now, there's a lot of older people that wouldn't like doing that. When you look at the total market cap of gold versus Bitcoin, 22 trillion versus around 2.5 trillion, there's a significantly higher upside with Bitcoin, especially if the US government invests heavily into it. I've done several videos on the strategic Bitcoin reserve and how impressive it could be, even if you want to argue the US government is buying at the top. I was saying they should buy it back when it was 12K or 13K during the well, I guess I wasn't saying it back then. But I mean, I wish they would have done this all the way back to like 2016, 2017. But it's good. It's better late than never. We think Bitcoin eventually will just keep going up, especially with the mass adoption it's received. It's going to be a lot less volatile. You're not going to see these crazy dips like we've seen in the past with all the ETFs and all the money. There's a lot of the coins that are at this point just stored value. They're not going to be traded much. So, because people treat Bitcoin like literal digital gold, that's what Bitcoin is. They're still trying to cope and say, well, it's not an actual currency. Well, yeah, there's too much volatility for it to be a currency. It doesn't have to be a currency, and you can still buy stuff with Bitcoin, but there's not a high incentive in doing it because of the volatility of it. You don't go to a store with a gold bar and trade it in for a sports car. It's just it is a stored value. That's what Bitcoin is. It doesn't replace fiat, but it gives you, and now with all these stable coins, it gives you so much more freedom to be able to move your money in in 5 seconds, millions and millions of dollars from one wallet to another wallet. It's the accessibility of it's just amazing. So look, I think they should try and acquire some. This what they're basically saying is they have to reallocate, whether it's selling gold for Bitcoin, whether it's some type of budget situation within their administration. The only way they're gonna, well, I shouldn't say the only way, but to buy Bitcoin, they're gonna have to reallocate some of their budget to be able to do it. They're not gonna add on to their budget by purchasing Bitcoin. That's what this is saying. It's saying we will explore the options in a budget friendly way, meaning we're gonna have to, if we want to straight up buy Bitcoin, the US government investing into Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Act. What do they got? A meme coin. I'll go over all the meme coins right now. So in relation to this, you do have the strategic Bitcoin reserve, SBR. This is the Solana one. This is not the main one. This is the main one. I would say I would not be interested in buying this. I bought it and then I sold it. The problem with this coin is it's just got such a terrible chart. Believe it or not, this coin did pump to around 80 million. I think it's got an amazing logo. You really can't see the logo because my face is blocking it, but no, it's unfortunate with this coin because I think but it's just, to me, it's too dead at this point. But if they actually do this strategic Bitcoin reserve and start buying it, it can pump again for sure. And then you've got the Bitcoin Act, which is the idea of actually buying it. And this coin is at basically nothing, if I remember correctly. It's at like 70K. I was just looking at it. This is another one. I like the logo. Yeah, this one's at 67K. The interesting thing with this coin, if they do actually bring it to the front, if they do bring it to Congress, this coin will likely shoot up significantly. The BTC Act, it's at 67,000 right now, but you're just waiting. I mean, you're probably going to be waiting until at least November or December. Is it really worth it? Probably not. I mean, it's a trade. A coin like this is a trade hoping for news. So, I don't know. My guess is that this they're gonna be acquiring Bitcoin in one way or another. And listen, there's a lot of whales within the Trump administration that did not like, I'm sure, what Bessent said. So they made him correct the statement. They told him, listen, this is a very bearish statement what you're saying. You're saying we're not going to acquire any. No, we're going to acquire it. We've always wanted to acquire more Bitcoin, but it's going to be done in a way that will not add to the budget. So we're going to have to trade some gold for it. Yes, people don't like that. But you're looking at a significantly higher return, especially if the US government backs Bitcoin to the degree of buying it rather than just through confiscation. Think about the amount of trust that puts into Bitcoin. Think about all the other governments that are now buying Bitcoin. Now you've got Harvard buying Bitcoin after trashing it back in 2018, 2019. They're all buying it. Like, what even is Bitcoin at right now? Let's take a look. And it's back under 120. That's why people got angry. Ethereum's doing fine, down 3.5% today. XRP down 5.5%. Solana under. I'm gonna start. I guess I should maybe start paying more attention to Solana. So Solana's sitting slightly under $200 right now. Doge 22 cents. I think Doge probably a dollar is its top. It's over 100 billion, I believe. You go to a dollar for Doge. So I mean that's still good for. But the problem with Doge, it's way too high in market cap, and it's such an old coin at this point. There's so many other coins, it's gonna dilute it. But the biggest problem is the market cap is so high. So but yeah, guys, that's basically it. I think people get angry about this. See, we're gonna do this again. I just want to look at a candlestick chart of the market cap. But yeah, so it was around 1.14 trillion, and we lost around 200 billion in terms of the overall market caps. But that's fine. It's not a big deal. And people say, well, that's because what Bessent said. Probably not, honestly. It's just ebbs and flows. It is what it is. But either way, guys, make sure you like the video down below. That's gonna do it for this one. Thank you for watching.